Alright guys, so I'm gonna make this little video that I'm just probably titled Intro to Aspects video, because this is a video of me just briefly explaining what are aspects in general, at least from the Vedic sidereal astrological perspective and not the tropical astrology perspective, before I start actually making videos. Okay, what is the aspects of this planet and what is its aspects doing? So what are aspects? Aspects is the influence that a planet is giving to another planet and or house. So, like for example, when I made my videos of planets through houses, for the most part, I did not talk about their aspects. I don't believe I begin to talk about or give information on their aspects until I get to Mars, I believe. But for the most part, I didn't talk about the aspects of a lot of the planets through houses, because for one, I wasn't really knowledgeable yet on what was a planet doing when it's in this house and it influences that house, and that house. I didn't know, so I figured it would be better safe than sorry to not even say anything about the aspects and just say and give information on what I do know versus what I don't know. But now, with the information that I do know on aspects, I could redo those videos, but I'm not doing all that shit. That would be just too much. But yes. So yes, a planet gives, certain planets give off aspects. So Sun only aspects the 7th place from itself. It only looks directly across. It only influences the house it sits in and a house directly across from it. Moon only gives off its 7th. Is one aspect, which is the 7th aspect, the house directly across from it. Venus only gives off one aspect, which is the 7th aspect, which is the house directly across from it. Mercury, the same thing. It only gives off one aspect, which is the 7th aspect, which is the house directly across from it. Make sure I'm not missing nothing. I said Moon, Sun, Mercury, Venus. Yes, those are the only planets in Vedic astrology that only give off one aspect. They all aspect the 7th place from itself. So, what about Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter? Mars aspects the 7th from itself. It aspects the 4th from itself and the 8th from itself. And Saturn aspects the 7th, the 3rd, and the 10th from itself. Jupiter aspects the 5th, the 9th, and the 7th from itself. The North Node and South Node, Rahu and Ketu, they have the same aspects as Jupiter, which is the 5th and 9th. You could say 7th, but some people don't really count the 7th aspect of Rahu and Ketu, because they're really two separate parts of the same body. And Rahu and Ketu, they're very complex shadow planets, and they're different. They go about things in different ways, but end up giving you sort of the same result. So long story short, for the sake of simplicity, I and most or some other astrologers don't really give too much emphasis and focus on the 7th place from Rahu and Ketu, because it's just very confusing and contradicting and just have you going crazy and stuff. So another thing when it comes to the aspects of planets is that their aspect, depending on what number is the aspect, that number will carry the significance of the corresponding house associated with that number. So let me break that into English so you can understand where I'm coming from. So I told you for Mars aspects the 4th and the 8th and the 7th from itself. But let's focus on the 4th for the sake of this example that I'm trying to give you. With Mars 4th aspect, it's going to have some of the significance, some of the natural significance of what is associated with the 4th house. which is the land and mother and nurturing and shelter and indoor dwellings. A home, a roof, it gives you shelter. It protects you, just like a mother should or would. It's a place where you feel safe. You feel safe in your home. You feel safe in your mom's arm or mother figure's arm. You feel safe in your possessions, your car, or whatever. You feel safe and secure. So you could say that with Mars' fourth aspect, that would be an area where Mars would want to protect, nurture, and secure. That would be an area of where Mars would want to, that's what Mars would want to do. With Jupiter, Jupiter gives off a fifth and ninth aspect. Well, the ninth aspect is going to have the natural significations of the ninth house, which is associated with a teacher, a guru, teachings of father, mastery over a subject, politics and law. So you could say that with Jupiter's ninth aspect, that will be an area or aspect of your life, depending on what house it aspects, depending on what planet it aspects, that would be an area where Jupiter will want to master and perfect that area of your life. And so on and so on. With a planet's seventh aspect, because every planet gives a seventh aspect, because it looks directly across from itself. So with the seventh aspect, it sort of threw me off for a while. What the hell does the seventh aspect got to do? Naturally, you would think that the seventh aspect would have something to do with relationships, due to this logic, because the seventh is associated with the seventh house, and the seventh house can represent relationships, or seventh house can represent business, because if you count 10 places from the 10th house, you'll end up in the 7th house. Counting from the 10th house, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 10. It ends up in the 10th, in the 7th house. What does that show you? It shows you that having a strong 7th house, or having a lot of planets in your 7th house, can naturally make someone like an entrepreneur, or incline someone to be an entrepreneur. It also tells you that it also shows you that 10th from the 10th shows that marriage or relationships is a heavy burden, is a heavy karma, it's the ultimate job, it's the ultimate obligation, is being in a marriage or a marriage-like relationship. Now you probably think, well, where the hell you get this shit from, Jordan? Well, let's break it down. Even though I'm just flexing a bunch of book knowledge right now, and I'm not even talking about aspects, but I'm gonna bring it back to aspects. The 10th house represents your career and your reputation, because you're judged and known by your career. By most people, by a lot of people, you're judged based upon what type of job you have, and how you're viewed by people at your job could be completely different between how you're viewed by your family and friends. You could be a terrible boss or a terrible supervisor, but you could be a great husband or wife, mother, father, whatever. So 10 places from the 10th, like I said, it's the 7th. Therefore, it's the higher version, the evolved version of the 10th house is the 7th house, which is marriage and relationships. And this would show you that the ultimate job, the ultimate obligation is marriage. And another thing I forgot to mention is that look who originally rules the 10th house. Saturn. Saturn is associated with karma. Karma means action. And this is why I said that marriage is the ultimate action, the ultimate duty, the ultimate responsibility that you can have in this lifetime, at least from maybe a spiritual or astrological perspective. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're talking about the 7th aspects of planets in general. Like I said, the 7th aspect of planets, you're essentially bringing the wherever house a planet sits in, it's going to bring the influence of the house that it sits in, and it's going to bring the influence of the house that it rules. So yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything else, because I don't want to, because I damn near make this one video of me talking about all the planets and all their aspects, and I just want to just keep this a brief generalization. But aspects are very important. Learning aspects are very important, because you'll only get so far if you just focus on if you just only focus on what is a planet doing in one house, and you don't think about what other houses and planets is influencing. You will miss a whole lot of information. Now, on the upside, from a Vedic sidereal perspective, aspects are easy. They're easy to learn. They're easy to comprehend in comparison to if you're coming from tropical Eastern astrology, where you have trines and squares and oppositions and sextiles and various other different type of aspects that I can't remember off the top of my head. But this is just very simple. It won't kill you and stuff. But yes, that's my end of my video. On intro to aspects, before I start my little barrage of videos explaining what is a planet doing in this house when it aspects and influences this house and this sun and this planet and whatever. So I'll see you on my next following videos in regards to aspects. Thanks for watching.